Oh, Martin.
Yeah,
Martin,
Martin well.
Martin. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and we got right into I said, what's sort of frustrating about Australia? And he goes, well, because it's isolated. He put it into my mind pretty good that I couldn't. He can get on a plane and just go to Berlin for lunch. Or just stay the night in Berlin and come back and fly over a whole bunch of major cities filled with people who do that all the time.
And there's cultures, different cultures. And you
but you can actually do it in a day. Like you can actually just go whack, 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 So for me to ask you, what do they do in Ireland? Doesn't really matter because you can just hop over there to a country that does do something. What would you say? What would be the nearest big gambling spot from Ireland?
Oh,
Spain. Does Spain?
Again, I'm not a gambler. I've just been in Vegas and spent $100.
What's the other Vegas?
I mean, look, there are little places around. I think they do have a casino in Dublin. I'm pretty sure they do have one, but it's just not something that I would ever do or do again. You know what I mean? I didn't go to Vegas for the gambling or anything else. Went there to watch the fight, catch up with 5 mates of mine, and drink like a fish, and just make fun out of everything in the world. You know what I mean? And the laughs that we had, just stupid shit.
Did they think you had an Aussie accent? Like
my accent comes back really quick once I'm in the room with them.
Back.
Boom,
Even that,
I just will sit down and pick up a drink and just sit down in the chair, and we just start laughing with each other, and it's back and forward, and they're just making fun of each other. And it's hard because they don't do it in Australia. You can make fun out of people without being nasty in any way, just making fun of each other. And you try to over here and people to think you're being abrasive. You know what I mean? And not. That's it's good humor, good nature. And I'm going to be doing I'm picking up my mum from the airport in the morning. Her and her partner Derek, they're going to be here for a month. Yeah. It's back on tomorrow. You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Oh man, I walked
or the next day.
I walked back into work today, and everybody just fell around laughing because I'm clean shaven every day of the week. I'm wearing a suit, and I come in there in a pair of bloody jeans and a t-shirt and a big beard, and everyone's like, "Man, we thought you were dead." I was like, "Me too." So
all right, dude. Them. Put it there, man.
Awesome, man. Look, thanks for having me. Great to be here. I'll let you sign off.
I don't know. No, all right.
So can you play music on these?
Yeah, man. Let's play anything. No, we didn't even have to finish, but I'm going to take a lead.
No, you put on you should play Teenage Wasteland. That's the song that came on in the UFC.
Yeah, definitely.
When it was finished. You know what I mean? Well, not when it was finished, between fights. Teenage Wasteland. Yeah. Great rock and roll.
Yeah, I was thinking that actually when you said it.
Yeah, great shit.
What's a chant that you heard that you hadn't heard before? Like obviously you've been in Australia for so long.
Mate, they make chants up all the time.
Really? That's what we don't do. Isn't it funny?
At one point, everyone was. It's on the internet, right?
Play that one you just had played before. We're walking.
Oh yeah, that's Walking in a Winter Wonderland where they sing "There's only one Conor McGregor." It's funny because at one point, right, they say, "Well, there's only one Conor McGregor." Na, 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 walking in a winter wonderland. At one point, this hooker came up to this guy in the bar. None of us knew him, right? And this was after about 4 days, and the place was clearing out, and we were outnumbered by these, And she came up to this guy. He said something Irish, not offensive, just boom, just a bit of witticism. She slapped the drink out of his hand, right? This guy's girlfriend jumped on the hooker. The two of them started pulling each other hair. It was like a UFC fight in the bar. It's the only violence that we saw the whole weekend. Yeah. Within a second, there was like 6 bouncers grabbed this girl and got her in an arm lock and just lifted her in the air and carried her out of the hotel.
Which one, the hooker or
the hooker? And then the whole crowd knew her name. All the guys knew her name. Let's say her name was Neve Murphy. They were all like, "There's only one Neve Murphy," like she's a UFC fighter. And it was another thing. At one point, look up Irish fans MGM, and you see at one point they just take their shoes off. They're saying, "Take your shoes off for Conor McGregor," and they just throwing their shoes in the air. I was like, I've never heard of this, and I'm not taking my shoes off. Later on, all the guys were running around barefoot. They just, making up some on the spot. Another, did you see?
Again, like that's like tribally mob sort of, like to throw your shoes away.
Did you see? I know. Did you see the Irish guy singing to Holly Holm? That was one of the funny.
That's the greatest thing.
That was one of the funniest things.
What was the song
seen.
again?
It was "You're Just Too Good to Be True." Can't take my eyes off of you.
And dude, what about her reaction? She
was blushing and laughing. It
Yeah, but
didn't
she
know
kinda
awkward. Didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And then the guy starts going, "I love
Dun,
you,
dun,
baby," and the whole crowd are just waving.
Even to the
They were doing that, and they were doing that in the MGM.
Yeah.
Like that became a song for the week
wow,
as well.
really?
Yeah.
So even though she wasn't in there, they just go from one song to the...
Yeah. So
That's
even though she
good,
wasn't there,
man.
everyone picked that up as a chant for the weekend as well.
Can you see how, because we're Australian, we don't have another nearby country to constantly go, all we got is Aussie, Aussie, oi, oi, oi,
Yeah,
which came about because the Olympics came to us in year 2000.
Yeah.
So we had a need. We had this need to tell
Yeah.
everyone that we're Aussie. That the first time it ever happened here, I swear.
And another one was "Whoop, there it is," like because "Whoop, there it is," whoop, because he whooped them so quick, the whole crowd just kept going, "Whoop, there it is." They make up stuff on the spot. Crowds in the UK and Ireland are funny. I remember Aston Villa. They used to a soccer team in England. They went for ages without scoring a goal. And so the crowd start going, "Let's pretend that we scored a goal." And then they'd all go, "Yeah!" And then I'll just throw the shirts in the air. They went like 10 games without a goal. You can look it up. Look up Aston Villa fans pretend they scored a goal. And they're all just going, "Let's pretend we scored a goal." Let's sing it.
And then,
Yeah! Big Mexican wave goes around the place. Yeah.
and the players are feeling like assholes, like, damn it.
Damn.
Come on, let's go score a goal.
This is really humiliating, Crowds, and especially in Ireland, they can, a thing can spread through a place really quickly. I'll tell you one funny story before we sign off.
Actually, do you have to be somewhere?
No, I'm fine, mate. But what do you want to pause it?
Yeah, we could play Teenage Wasteland. I'll take a leak and come back.
No, I'll tell you.
Go.
Well, it's not really a funny story, but it just sums up where I'm from, right? So I'm from a place in Cabra in Dublin, and my mum was telling me about a year ago. She said there was a funeral of a guy. He basically overdid it. He drank himself silly, and he ended up in hospital, and he busted his internal organs from alcohol abuse so bad, and he was only like a young guy, like 37 or something. And people would visit him, and he was in hospital, and he was like, "I think I've really overdone it," and he actually died in hospital. His name was like, let's say it was Jimmy, right? And he was big into horses. He was a big fan of horses. I wish I could remember his first name. He was always into betting on horses, and even when he died, they had like 2 black stallions or 4 black stallions taking his coffin to the funeral, to the burial. Everyone went back to the pub, and it was a Saturday afternoon, and there was horse racing going on, and there's bookies next door. Like, it's not like in Australia where you have the bookies in the pub. The bookies is next to the pub. So word went around that there was a pub called like Jimmy's Destiny. So the name of the guy that died, the horse, was racing just after the funeral, called Jimmy's Destiny. So the word went around the pub, "Hey, there's a horse called Jimmy's Destiny on and racing and happening now." Everybody bet their house on it, and then the horse won. And everybody was just throwing their arms in the air in the pubs, partying. And they had to close the bookmakers that day and go to the bank and get more money to pay everybody.
Wow.
Great. So, imagine that, dying, and then on some level, all your friends feel as if they've just had a win, like you've bought them a drink, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's...
I had that thought at my mate's mum's wedding, funeral, and I emceed it.
Yeah.
So I found myself, and I know her really well, and I was like, she wouldn't want this to be sad. Like, when you die,
she wasn't a morose
person.
And
isn't it funny how we don't spend much time thinking about our death and our funeral? Like, it could have monster trucks and dirt bike show and fireworks shows. Like, no one, I don't see anyone planning that to make your friends go, "Oh, he was always like that. Good on you, mate."
The only white person I know that really did that was Hunter S. Thompson. He wrote for his funeral, he wanted his ashes to be encased in a cannonball, and a gigantic cannon in the shape of a middle finger to be. He lived he lived on a ranch in the middle of nowhere, and he got this. Johnny Depp paid like $2 million to construct this send off. and they built this giant cannon that basically raised like a middle finger and then fired his ashes as a cannonball across down the valley into the hills, and it exploded and hitting the side of a cliff like that, and fireworks all night in a celebration. You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah, you think about all the rich people and all the famous people.
Yeah, I mean, look, the death is nothing to be afraid of. I've been listening to a lot of Terence McKenna recently, and that's somebody you should listen to a lot. He is. You
know what I don't?
Huh?
You know why I don't?
Why is that?
Because I know he took acid and LSD, and
you don't want to get the
no,
desire
but
to do
I've
it?
only done that a few times in my life,
and
it actually gives me this really skin crawling.
Yeah.
And whenever I've watched a Terence McKenna thing,
he's talking.
It reminds me of and the taste and the feel and all that sort of. It really.
Yeah,
and you know how he's not an attractive sort of dude.
Yeah, he's
like
not.
he's the kind of dude that I would see. Be forced to sit in a room with if I was tripping.
Yeah.
You know, isn't it funny? But I know he's a genius.
He is a genius. And one of the things he talks about is reality. And he basically says, like, there are Sanskrit or whoever it is where it's written or whatever. And he says that, there are ancient texts that basically say this reality that we experience is a construct, almost like a web built by spiders to catch flies. And he said, like, when you go and take ayahuasca and you're in Peru and the jungle and all this, DMT, which he said basically you take all this stuff, and I've never done it. I don't really have any desire to do it. Maybe one day before I die. It's not a recreational thing, you know what I mean? But he says your conscious massively expands outside your body. You feel like you can see into the whole universe in seconds, and you realize that you're trapped inside of a body. And going to work, because when you actually die, you feel like you're just on the ocean, And he said that, people talk about aliens and things like this. He said basically when you are on this drug, you actually meet your ancestors. You meet people way back since the beginning of whatever that are there around. They say we're around you all the time, trying to help you out and guide you and make luck happen, And he talks about a lot of weird stuff, but great guy to listen to.
I'm interested in what happens to people when they take that ayahuasca and their trip.
Yeah,
it's often that, and they draw it too. Like often that they can speak to dogs, like they can understand animals.
Yeah,
and it still spins me out to this day. Just like yesterday, I was watching something that had a polar bear in it. Like we all have two eyes, a nose, and a mouth. We're all the same. It's just the fact that we split up long ago. Yep. We became this dominant animal.
Yep.
We became that. So there's every chance that the polar bear actually has the same kind of thought, but they can't express it, and they can't, and they don't have as much brain. So their
DNA is like 99.9% exactly the same. It's just like an overcoat. It's just like an overcoat. One of the things that Terence McKenna says, actually, so Drew's just gone away for a second. One of the things that Terence McKenna said is that
Let's pretend! Let's pretend! Let's pretend we score the goal!
a couple of miles to look at it.
Right.
Because to them, time is not of the essence, So he could basically say, if you were to go to these ancient cultures and they wanted to tell you about like an animal that had fallen and broken something, they would walk and show you that rather than try and just tell you the story,
Yeah.
And
like my daughter would do the same thing.
Yeah.
She'll go, take me to this thing, but right now she's 2.
Yeah.
She's starting to be a girl and embellish stories like. She can't even really say words, but I know she's kind of bullshitting me. You know what I mean? She's just kind of like running her mouth a bit, like
practicing. Yeah.
That's exactly what's happening now.
Yeah, and that's they say there was. It's funny, because they say that you can you can perceive things without words differently. You know what I mean? If you stop thinking in terms of language. I remember there's a really good guy that I met. He's a boxing coach, actually. His name's Johnny Seghetti, lives on the Gold Coast. Huge guy, absolute huge guy, basketballer. And he told me that his father was like the chauffeur for this famous Dr. Chen or whatever it was that invented like the